Hey guys, I wanted to review over determining the perspective in literary texts. This is where we're looking for different points of views of characters. So, the first thing we do want to pay attention to is the actual narration of the story. That's what we commonly think of when we say point of view. Is the story being told in first person, where the narrator is telling their own story, or is the story being told in third person, where our narrator is not in the story and is a being or entity who's outside telling somebody else's story? This is the starting point when we're determining point of view and perspective, but we need to go beyond, going from just first person, third person, to looking at what is the perspective of the characters in the story. And when we talk about perspective, we're talking about how does this character think and feel about a particular topic. So, what are the clues on how we determine what a character's perspective is? Well, we want to pay attention to what the character is saying. What is the dialogue that is written for the character? We may also want to pay attention to what is the character not saying. Is there information that this character knows, but for some reason is not sharing that information? Maybe they're trying to protect somebody's feelings. Maybe they're being sneaky and they're trying to hide something from characters. We want to pay attention to the actions of our characters as well. What are they doing in the story? Are they acting heroic? Are they acting devious? Are they acting bashful or afraid? Also, just as we would know from our friends' body language how they may feel about a situation, how a character is described in the text is going to help us understand what that character is thinking and feeling about a situation. Last, make sure you pay attention to any changes in that character, where they were behaving and acting one way at the beginning of the story, and then they were behaving and acting differently at the end of the story. That is always significant. And paying attention to the changes in our character is not only going to help us understand the perspective of our character, why they are behaving the way they're behaving, but it's also going to be a big clue to what the theme of the story is, what that universal big idea is that the author is trying to get us to understand. So let's talk about The War of the Wall by Toni Cade Bambara. This was our common lit story from last week. In this story, we need to think about how the boy's point of view of the artist changes in the story. And what does this tell us about those characters and about the story as a whole? So anytime we talk about changes in a character, we always need to first start with how that character feels at the beginning of the story, or how a group of characters feel at the beginning of the story. Then we need to also discuss how they changed. How do they feel at the end of the story? Are they static? Do they stay the same? Or is there a dynamic change in those characters from the beginning to the end? We cannot discuss how a character changes in a story if we do not address both sides of that spectrum. So our boys in the beginning of the story, they are very upset about this artist who's coming from out of town to paint on what they feel is their wall, their place to hang out, where they have a lot of memories, and they don't know why she's there and what she's doing. As the story progresses, the boys start shifting to thinking of what they can do to try to stop the artist. By the end of the story, though, when the art is revealed and they realize that the powerful piece of artwork that she has put up on that wall, and that it incorporates not only civil rights leaders, but it also includes children from the community. And they could even see themselves in the artwork. They suddenly realize what she was doing, and that she was doing something for them. And that she did actually have a connection to the community, because her cousin was from the community, and he was somebody who was important to our two boys, who are the main characters of the story. So we see our characters go from really not liking the artist and not understanding why she's there or what she's doing, to fully embracing her and appreciating what she has given to the community. We can go into this of where we could say this could be going into a theme of accepting other people and being open to new ideas. It's also helpful when looking at point of view to kind of look at other characters in the story, how they may be perceiving situations. If we see the two twins who bring food to the artist, we see the man who comes out from the pool hall, who is curious, but is not offended by anything that's going on. And then we see the boy's mother, who, while she may not like the artist very much, at least, but she tries to, and I would say it's not even so much that she doesn't like her, it's just that she doesn't quite understand her ways, but she accepts that perhaps she's just trying to stick to a strict diet, and is very open and willing to give the woman a chance. So we see that these different characters all have different reactions to the artist that we could contrast against the boy's hatred of her that they have at the beginning of the story. Alright, so as you go into other stories that you have to read, please keep in mind these ideas of looking at how a character feels at the beginning, how a character feels at the end, contrasting those two elements to determine what is this telling us about the character as a whole, and as a story of the story as a whole. Alright, if you have any questions, make sure you reach out to me. Happy reading, guys.